I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn.
I spent the first 10 years of my career as a creative professional. And the last 20 years of my life, I've been a creative executive. I worked at ad agencies, production companies, you name it. I have a bunch of stories that are very similar to this, but the one that sticks out to me and the one that stuck out to me when all of this controversy started was the time that I worked at a lifestyle media publication. This was over 10 years ago. They were pretty well known at the time. We were in an editorial meeting, and it's about 20 people in this conference room. Out of that 20 people, there were two men in the room. It was me, and there was the other guy who was the senior VP of brand, whatever the hell he was. See, there was a large parent company, and this media publisher was one of the companies. So this guy managed this brand. Everybody else in the room was women. There was one woman who was black. She was an associate producer. We worked on the same team. The other was Asian. Everybody else in the room is white. And we're just going over, ideas, that we're going to look at or that we're looking to pursue for that month. And there's this woman, she was a senior editor. She was European, I think German or something like that. And that's why I give her a tiny bit of grace with regards to this. One of the ideas that she pitched was, we could go to the real estate people and we could go to find properties in poor neighborhoods and we could do makeovers of the property, or we could meet people who've gone into these neighborhoods, the pioneers that go into these new neighborhoods to revitalize them. We can give them a makeover. So she's talking about this, and I look over at the black woman, and the two of us, we both make eye contact. And we're just like, are you fucking kidding me? And everybody else in the room is just like, that's interesting. So the black woman who's on my team, she speaks up first, and she has an emotional reaction. Oh my God, I think that's terrible. That's a terrible idea to do something like that. And just reacting emotionally. And frankly, the same way that when this concept was being explained, it was the same emotions that I had. But, as a hardened corporate veteran, especially a corporate veteran who is typically the only black male or black person in the room, I know that there are certain ways to go about explaining things without being deemed emotional or angry, which is what was going on when my colleague was disagreeing with this idea. Of course, everyone in the room is uncomfortable, and the senior editor is like, what do you mean? It's not a bad idea. We could get so-and-so involved, and we could do this, and we could do that. Pretty much ignoring the concerns or not wanting to connect with the concerns. That is when I said, I think what the issue is here is that you basically pitched a pro-gentrification show, pretty much pitching the idea or even glorifying the idea that there are people who grew up in these areas who want to continue to live in these areas, but they're being priced out by realtors who are bringing in a completely different demographic, replacing one community with another. I have friends who grew up in the Bronx or Brooklyn or Jersey City that can't afford to live in the area anymore because they've been priced out. As soon as I said gentrification, the idea was killed. Okay, maybe you're right. Had my colleague and I not been in that room at that time, they would have done that idea. They would have executed. Or they would have at least gone through the iterations until they realized they couldn't afford it. This is a very painful but blunt truth about the conditions of the creative that is coming out of these big agencies with these big brands. A lot of times, their creative teams are predominantly white. And not only are they predominantly white, they are culturally illiterate and emotionally immature and unprepared, really. To be fair, emotionally unprepared to handle a challenge against their sensibilities. And look, I'm going to be honest, I didn't immediately clock that this American Eagle ad was like pro-white or pro-white nationalist or anything like that, or even had tones of it, because I just assumed that there would be other talent and not just Sydney Sweeney that was going to be a part of that. Like, it would have been like, I don't know, Kiki Palmer has great genes, or like, SZA has great genes. Like, they would have switched up the spokespeople like a lot of other brands do. But when you dig a little deeper and you find out this is specifically for Sydney Sweeney, yeah, I mean, it doesn't read like this is a creative team that has their finger on the pulse of society, or maybe they do, but they align more with, again, these might be Trump voters. These might be Trump people, and they might be expressing, this is how they're expressing this. So this very likely could be. I wouldn't put it past them, again, because I've been in these rooms. I've had these conversations with these people, and there's two types of people that you confront with these things, and they give you a reaction. There's the, holy shit, yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh my God, that's a good point. Oh my God, that's bad. And then there's the, I give to the NAACP every year, and my friend that I went to high school with was black, and blah, 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 and all the bullshit. If you are in advertising and marketing and you are that culturally unaware of what's going on to be this tone deaf, then, you're not really doing your job properly. It was very much an ad where you could see the creative team just sitting around smelling their own farts over this. It's tone deaf and either culturally oblivious or culturally nefarious. Neither one of those things is a good position to be in if you are a creative agency. I mean, either way, it's not a good look.